Test. Test.
We're going to call the order of the City Council meeting for Monday, May 2nd, 2022. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you for that. And over to Jamie for roll call.
Jeff Dahlke. Bill LeClaire.
Here.
Darla LeClaire.
Here.
Tracy Coach. Here. Tim Petrie.
Here.
Jason Ring.
Here.
Bonnie Shimulunas.
Here.
Scott Steckmesser.
Here.
Adam Husky.
Here. Okay, we can skip 4 because everyone is present. We'll also skip number 5 as we do not have a public hearing. Moving us on to number 6, which is input from the public. Anyone wishing to address the council on anything that's on this agenda or a future agenda, feel free to step up to the podium, my right, your left, state your name and address for the record, and go ahead.
Hello, everybody. I'm Travis Van Lannen, 2906 Forest Avenue. Lived in Two Rivers for a total of like 15 years now. Something that I would like to be looked at maybe for a future agenda would be our city ordinance on the 5G small cell wireless towers. That one just went up on 29th Street across the road from my house. It was brought up to me by a number of my neighbors, and they're very unhappy about it. And then some more things were brought to my attention about the city ordinance itself, signed by Greg Buckley, yourself, Adam, and the city attorney, of course. The attest line with Jamie Jackson was not signed. So I'd like to start by asking, is that normal? Were you not available, or did you not know about this maybe?
No, I knew about it.
Okay.
I'm sure I've just,
Okay.
Might just be an
Sign it.
oversight.
yeah.
Does that have to be revisited, or is that just something we're not going to worry about that detail of it?
We'll go to the city attorney for that.
Yes,
All
sir.
the attestation is confirmation by the city clerk that it's a true and correct copy of the ordinance adopted by the council. I don't think it affects the validity of the ordinance.
It seems to me like this ordinance, maybe like everybody that I've spoken to thus far had no idea about this ordinance, and then all of a sudden there it was. So I'm just curious, were all the council members informed of it and had a chance to review it and maybe vote on it? Was that?
At a bare minimum, Mr. Van Lannen, it appeared on a duly posted public agenda prior to the meeting. It was on the agenda. It was available as an attachment viewable by the public. Beyond that, I'll allow council members to speak to that. It was not, there's a process where anything ends up on the agenda in front of city council.
So
No,
that did come to our packet, and I do believe we had a public hearing on this as well. So I think it came before us twice. Did we not have a public hearing
I'm
on
not
this?
sure about a public hearing because it's not in a portion of the ordinance that requires public hearing. We had to, there were two
Was it
parts.
for the
There were
right of
two
way?
parts. There was also an amendment to the zoning code in follow-up to the initial amendment to the ordinance. That part required a public hearing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it wasn't something that went up for a vote, or it did go and vote, all the council members, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I just saw the memorandum, or the ordinance that went through in, what was that? 2021 or whenever it was, December. And then one of my close neighbors also, who is not for this small cell wireless technology due to the lack of proper safety studies, brought to my attention, the FCC, although the regulating body, and I know that's what you guys will say when we say we don't want it in our neighborhoods. You'll say, "Well, that's
Also, the
FCC."
state of Wisconsin passed legislation, and we are a creature of the state.
Correct.
Not to
It's-
interrupt you. sir, sorry.
That's perfect. Is it not true that a local municipality can govern themselves sovereignly from a state, or is there no way of?
I'll defer to our city attorney, but the short answer, no. Not
I
even
don't really
close.
know unless it comes within the,
Legal
what's
framework?
called the home rule power of a municipality. I don't know if this would be the type of regulation that would be within the home rule power. Home rule is exercised in a particular way through adoption of a charter ordinance, sometimes even the holding of a referendum. My guess is, again, I'm talking off the top of my head here because I don't know for sure. My guess is this isn't a home rule situation.
Okay, one example of something that we found out was that the city or township or village, I'm not sure, of Cedarburg, Wisconsin, was able to put some good verbiage in their ordinance regarding siting of small cell towers, because the citizens there, like the citizens here, we're very concerned of the adverse health effects and the lack of safety studies. 4G technology has only been out for a very small handful of years. And this short wave radio signals is more of a beam. My understanding from what I research, it's more of a beam than a broadcast. And so the science isn't fully out on it. There are some preliminary studies, double peer-reviewed studies about honeybee death and how it affects young children and sleeping patterns and things of that nature. So I think anyone with children or grandchildren in this room should maybe think about it. And, if is there future ability to maybe add to this ordinance to safeguard our citizens?
I don't think it's a bad idea to probably look into, and I think that's what Jack is doing now. And if he doesn't find it, obviously now he will report back to us and we can get some more information on that. Because, I mean, we do have several concerns that have been brought up to us since this ordinance was passed and even before it. But from what we understood is we don't really have a lot of control. So I think,
and that's the part that I got hung up on, because not only is that not right to me, but also, like I said, again, the city of Cedarsburg, and I'm going to pass it around. I ran out of printer paper, but I have a few copies here. I'd like to just hand out a few. This is a template of what the verbiage in there. Cover page second page kind of dives into it a little more. You can pretty much disregard the third page because it's kind of more definitions, which Mr. Buckley's and the council's ordinance already has in place. However, the third paragraph does state, municipal officials and local attorneys should be cognizant that rulings and orders of the Federal Communications Commission, FCC, are not laws and do not have the force of law. They're merely the agency's interpretation of the law and of its own powers and authority. Recently, decisions of the FCC regarding the National Environmental Policy Act, NEPA, were overturned by the District Court in Washington, D.C. Congress is currently threatening bipartisan legislation to curb the overreach of the FCC, and a number of cities are challenging the authority of the agency to preempt local control over the siting of small cell antennas. Now, like anything in our world right now, you have multiple sources of information, right? Coming from the right, left, front, and center. The verdict's not out. What I can tell you for certain that I know is there's not sufficient testing of this technology to put me at ease with my young children being so close to this tower. And I do not accept having it there. I do not consent to it. And I have a number of neighbors that are right there with me. All right. So this needs to be revisited, and maybe it can be relocated. When this technology first was coming out, there were many groups saying, we need more research. It's bad for this, that, and the other. And maybe someone was exaggerated. Maybe someone once wasn't. But in 2019, the FCC changed their guidelines. Why was that? Probably to accommodate for the increase of these installations is my assumption. I know there's a ton of money behind it, but it's coming from corporate interests, and us as a community, we should be able to do what we need to do to protect ourselves. And if we don't want something, I don't think we should have to just say, oh, well, the state says we have to. I don't agree with that. And there's got to be a legal recourse and way to go about this. So obviously it'll have to be visited further.
okay, Darla?
Yeah, this first page, this is taken from Cedarburg?
This is an organization for the safe. On the bottom, there's a little disclaimer.
Okay, but could you
This-
cite your source?
Yep, it's on the bottom. So it says Americans for Responsible Technology.
I mean, I'm sorry, like a link to where you found this?
Americans,
Okay, no, I'm
they have a
just saying.
website. Yep. It's not a cited source. This is just for informational purposes only, as it says on here. This is just a template to kind of get your guys' gears turning. I'm just giving you the example of Cedarburg to let you know that it has been done in Wisconsin, something similar. And it was just verbiage of siting locations. But through that, the concerned citizens are able to be happy and not have them so close to their residential neighborhoods.
Okay, I guess I'm just saying, okay, it says Americans for Responsible Responsible Technology and its affiliates. But, and maybe you already answered this, but I'd like to know what their website is so I can go out there.
Oh, I can look it up for you.
Okay,
Yeah,
just as long as we've got that and, like a link to
Sure.
the information.
absolutely. And there's such a wealth of resources out there about studies that have been done over the last 20, 30 years on EMF radiation and the differences between 3G, 4G, 5G, and, cancer cells in rodents and things of that nature. There's lots of information out there, and this is one of the websites that.
Okay, so we'll have our city attorney look at it from our angle and what we can and cannot do.
Okay.
And if there's something that we can do to bring back before council, if council wants to do that and put that on the agenda, we can certainly do that. Was there anything else? I don't want to cut you short.
No, I think I got it all out.
Okay,
I appreciate it.
okay. Thank you so much for addressing us. We appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm worried about the honeybees and the birds too, not just the children. But thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else looking to address the council? All right, seeing none, we're going to move on to council communications. Any council members have letters or other communications from citizens that they'd like to share with the rest of council? Jeff?
I have 3 of them. Somebody approached me about talking about the possible use of UTVs again, that we should probably put it on the agenda and rediscuss it since it's that time of year again. I was talking to a resident that lives on 12th Street, and they've done work in front of her house a couple times and they haven't had any notification. And she actually got blocked in her house a couple times.
Like street work?
Yeah, street work.
Okay.
And the other one, I thought we're sure we all got this one. It was about pertaining to front yard gardens. And I think we need to put that back on the agenda again so we
Okay.
can discuss it.
Okay, I think that started with plan commission when that happened.
Yes, if it's, I mean, the council president or any 2 of you can direct, but I would have no problem at least referring it to the plan commission. I'm not going to say they'll get into it in depth. Their next meeting is next week, Monday. But if that's where the council, it's not an agenda item tonight, but I'll go ahead and at least serve that up to the plan commission. Elizabeth, you want to make note of that? I'll forward that if I haven't already, I'll forward that email.
And that can come back with a recommendation to council, either yay or nay, but council has the final
For
decision.
the 3rd time on
Right.
that issue as well.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, sure. Okay, anybody else? Bonnie?
There are garden plots you can rent near the cemetery, and I didn't know how to get a hold of it. I answered her and told her to call City Hall because I wasn't sure whom she was
The rec
supposed to.
department could direct her. I don't know if there are presently
Oh, the
any
rec department.
plots left for this year. There was one.
Right.
Actually, you get 3 raised beds for $25 or something. Yeah. I just don't know if there are any available presently.
I did respond to that lady, informing her that as well, that we do have a community garden in the cemetery. Wasn't sure if there were any others, but I did know of that one.
Again, it can be taken up. It was pretty thoroughly vetted 2 prior times. But so have other things been, and they come back up. So fair enough. It also was predicated on a coming global food shortage, and I'm confident if that's encountered, communities would react to that. But that's the predicate for the request.
Anybody else? Any communications they'd like to share? All right, seeing none, moving on to number 8, which is council reports from boards, commissions, and committees. I don't know if anyone's met since our last meeting, probably not, but does anyone have anything they need to report on? Okay, then going on to number 9, city manager. Oh, sorry, go ahead. Yep.
I do. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Yep.
Main Street
Oh, yep.
is undergoing a kind of a shakeup. Our executive director has given his notice that he is retiring. And so we're trying to find our feet right now as far as coming up with an updated job description and all that, and then start trying to recruit and then go through the hiring process. But as far as I know, this isn't going to affect any of our upcoming events. We'll still have the car show. We're still going to have Ethnic Fest. We're still going to have Brian Lee Day. So that everything is okay. But I just want to let you know that that the executive director will be stepping down. I believe it's July 1st. So, and there'll be more to come as we go through the process.
Good, thank you for that. Okay, anybody else? All right, we'll buy a little bit of time. We got the city manager's report next, and he has stepped away. So we will get to the city manager's report. We have a couple invited guests that we're waiting. Looks like there's two of those, so Greg's gonna introduce those, I think, right about now.
Yeah, I apologize. I just noticed something that I think we could use a handout on later in the agenda that's not in your packet.
Sure.
So apologies.
No problem.
Just to double check, when we get to the, maybe it is there, the appointments of council members to boards, commissions, and committees, do you have that master listing that, the other one that was oriented landscape that lists every committee, when they meet, who the current incumbents are?
I didn't see it.
Okay, that's in process right now, so
Okay.
apologize, that should have been in there. Yes, apologize for the delay there. First of all, I would like to announce, and she'll come up to shake hands with you in just a minute. We can join up at the microphone here. Heather Islandfeld started last week, Monday, April 25th, as our new senior center supervisor in the Parks and Recreation Department. Heather comes to us having most recently worked at Manitowoc Health and Rehabilitation Center as their activities director and marketing director. 13 years there and an extensive career in services to the aging, services to seniors. She's a Chicago resident, just up the road, and we're very happy to have her on board. So you can feel free to say hello if you had any comments, Heather. Otherwise, we'll then you can run the gamut and be introduced to.
Hello.
Welcome aboard. We're glad to have you.
Thank you.
If you want to start by shaking Scott's hand and go right around.
Just watch the turkey.
Yeah.
Thank you, Heather. Congratulations. Next up, we're pleased to have as our guest Peter Crabb, the Executive Administrative Director for the Hamilton Wood Type and Printing Museum, for an update on recent and upcoming events at Wood Type. Peter, welcome.
Thank you. Yes, we are having our first open house since before COVID, essentially. And that's on May the 21st from 11 to 4. We're very excited to have people in person in the museum. And just as exciting, we are celebrating this year Hamilton employee alumni. So anybody who is a Hamilton employee alumni attending the event, you have the opportunity to have a year's free membership. So, come and join us. And we still have the boards, by the way, that everybody signed on the last day with 45 years, 40 years, 30 years in service. So if nothing else, that says what that means to this town, to me. So we'll have food trucks. We have the Two Rivers City Band. We have special prizes and special things from the archives or from the exhibit storage that aren't always out. We'll have many things like that. You'll be able to pull a print. You'll be able to see a master printer at work and much, much more. Perhaps most importantly, we have a chance to meet you all or see you all again, depending on how well we know you. And so do our volunteers. The museum has the best volunteers I've ever encountered in my career. And as you can see, I'm not that young. So, come and meet our staff and volunteers. We are always pleased to see you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Peter. Okay, in the way of status and update reports, would note that WPS is out ahead of our street contractor installing new gas mains and services on that portion of 17th Street east of the 17th Street Bridge over to the lake. So that infrastructure will all be replaced in advance of the construction work. We anticipate the project contractor beginning work in June. Part of that is wanting to make darn sure that all the fittings and other things needed, especially for the water lead lateral service replacements, are in hand before that project commences. We still expect that they'll be working to knock out the one block on this side of the bridge, west of the bridge, earliest or first in the project, so we can at least get a direct route to the 17th Street Bridge and the beach established for what's left of summer when we're at that point. In the meantime, especially when this section is out from East Park to Jefferson, we'll be signing detour routes so people know they can get around that very easily if they're used to coming and going from the beach that way. When 17th is ripped up on the east side, east of the bridge and East Street, traffic will be detoured via East Street to Harbor and over to Zlatnik for at least getting to the beach. So stay tuned on that one. And the pre-con meeting will be within the next 2 weeks. Shoot. We do have an upcoming visit from folks from our sister city of Domažlice in the Czech Republic, 10 student musicians who actually were high school students when the exchange was scheduled, but now are 19 or 20 years old and out of high school because of the 2-year COVID-related delay. They'll be spending time with the students that they met with when our Two Rivers High School students made it over to the Czech Republic before COVID shut everything down. And we'll be participating in a lot of activities at the school that week. That's the week of from Memorial Day weekend until Saturday, June 4th. There will be 8 adults. I believe 6 of them are the official delegation. Mayor Novak, former Mayor Mock, the chair of their Sister Cities Committee. They will be here. Among their activities, they've been invited to walk with the city council in the Memorial Day parade, be seated with our council at the dais out at the old cemetery in talking with Mr. Toddy, the chair of the Memorial Day activities. We will be introducing Mayor Novak, and the featured speaker will be Patrick Duane, whose grandfather, Lieutenant Colonel Matt Connop, as you know, served in World War II, is the reason we have a sister city in the Czech Republic. And Patrick will again share that story of his grandfather, one of the greatest generation and one of 4 American GIs that our sister city named as honorary residents. One of them still survives, and he's in Domažlice right now, a gentleman from New York City, for their Liberation Day celebration, which is on May 5. There's also a Two Rivers community delegation, no city officials in it, but Bill Keel of Karen Ned and his wife Lori are part of that group, and they will be extending official greetings from Two Rivers on our behalf. So we'll get out a schedule for that week, but look forward to several events. The hosted events or any of the expenses are being dealt with by the Sister Cities Committee, which acts as a subunit of the Two Rivers Historical Society. Brenda Kaprowski chairs that effort and has put a ton of work into it. So looking forward to that. There will be a reception here at City Hall on Tuesday morning, the 31st. Music in Central Park will be on Wednesday, June 1. It'd be a month late if we did it on July 1. So anyway, Parks and Rec, pleased to say that following a selection process and assessment center about 3 weeks ago, I've appointed Mike Mathis of Michigan, the Detroit area, as our new Parks and Rec director. He currently serves as director of Michigan State University's Tollgate Farm facility. It's a 160-acre demonstration farm educational facility, day camp for a lot of kids from the Detroit urban areas, in Novi, Michigan, in the Detroit suburbs. Facility with about a $1.6 million budget that's about 70% revenue generated from fees generated from classes, small conferences, workshops, that sort of thing. He had some great things to tell about their achievements and reprogramming to stay open and available to the public during COVID. He also has about 5 years' experience prior to that with the Toledo, Ohio Metro Park System, which, as I understand it, is the park system for all of Lucas County, where Toledo is located. He likes to fish, as shown in the photos he provided, and he has a young family. They were here last Friday house hunting and are very excited to relocate to Two Rivers. He does start on June 27, a little longer than we had hoped before he starts, but that allows him in the time between his jobs to get in his 2-week family vacation and then hit the ground running when he gets here. So I think he's going to be a great addition to staff. We also hijacked him for a little bit Friday night when he and his wife were in town, and they took in the first half of Heartorama over at the community house. So they got to see the community house full, and I promised them that we wouldn't let that scare them away. That sometimes you have to be here a few years to understand all the skits in Heartorama and the nuances, but they enjoyed that and look forward to making this their permanent home. Should be a good addition. We again welcome Heather Eilenfeld on board as our new senior center supervisor. We are out recruiting presently for a senior center volunteer and nutrition coordinator. That's a part-time position that just opened up due to a staff resignation. Public Works janitor, which is being advertised, that's 9 hours a week, cleaning up, doing the basics down at DPW. And we just closed applications and have done interviews for Public Works maintenance worker. Jamie, are we down to a finalist or group of finalists there?
No, we're doing interviews next week.
Oh, I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself. So we have interviews scheduled for next week. I should let the person that knows what she's talking about speak to that. At the wastewater plant, we will be coming to council at the next meeting with a request to award bids for a new screw press, which is to replace the 28-year-old belt press now in operation at the wastewater plant. The last time the existing belt press went down, we had to have some parts custom manufactured over at Collenberg by their machinists. We're grateful for that, but this is an important piece of equipment in the wastewater treatment process. Basically, this press dewaters the sludge at the tail end of the process to reduce volume and get the moisture out of it. We've lined up the opportunity for Clean Water Fund low interest loan financing, including 30% principal forgiveness. We do, though, need to look at the financing of that. Do we do general obligation borrowing by the city, or do we do revenue bonding, or borrowing, which generally is our preference? We do have, though, a projected revenue shortfall or a budget shortfall with both this and some of the additional operating expenses that we've been incurring the last couple of years. So that will be addressed at the next Utilities Committee meeting. How do we free up some resources? Not at this point talking a big rate increase, but rates are one thing that's on the table. Also, are there opportunities to adjust some other utility fees to help offset some of this? Or do we go geo bonding and yes, use up, I want to say 600,000 or 700,000 of our general obligation borrowing capacity. But the fact is we need to replace this piece of equipment, and we have a timeline that we're on as far as making a decision so we can take advantage of the 30% principal forgiveness. So those of you that are on utilities, that'll be the heavy duty item for your very first meeting as a new committee. And I know Adam's announcing those appointments tonight. So this is National Tourism Week. Want to share with you a video put together by Amy James, our new she's been here working with us since first of the year, tourism coordinator. Bear with me if the technology gods cooperate. Oh, just a minute, I want to do a toggle here. View it. Tourism Week. Play. And I expect the Room Tax Commission, whose appointment is on the agenda tonight, is going to be pretty busy in the upcoming months, hopefully putting in place our permanent structure for tourism promotion and development going forward. An issue not without controversy in recent months. Again, one weekend of Heartorama has passed. There's another weekend coming up. Tickets for at least some of the shows are still available, either online at heartorama.org or at the Piggly Wiggly in Two Rivers or Manitowoc. You can purchase tickets. This is the 50th anniversary. Again, it would have been the 50th anniversary observance 2 years ago, except for the little intermission that we've seen due to the pandemic. Heartorama, since its founding in Manitowoc 52 years ago, has raised about $2.9 million for the Heart Association and things like deploying automatic electronic defibrillators in locations all over the county. They've done some wonderful things. Hopefully this year they top the $300,000 mark. They've made $100,000 of that amount from the auctioning of toilet seats, which you may have seen on display at some businesses in the area, and which is always a highlight. I got to help with the auction of the toilet seat on Friday night. I've still got gold glitter on my jacket. Of course, that's better than where it might end up if you actually use the toilet seat. So congratulations to the folks at Heartorama that just put in a huge amount of work, all in the interest of a good cause, and which is called the J.E. Hamilton Community House home since 2008. So get out and see the show if you haven't. Upcoming events also over at the Senior Center. There's a Cinco de Mayo dinner to go next Thursday, May 5th, 3 to 5 p.m. I think you can probably call and order in advance or stop on over, take your chances. Two Rivers Main Street will be holding their spring wine and beer walk Friday, May 13th. That's next week, Friday. That's 5 to 8:30 p.m. Stroll and walk and visit various downtown businesses where they'll be serving both wine and beer samples. You can go to the Two Rivers Main Street website to register for that event. The Two Rivers Farmers and Crafters Market returns Saturday, May 21, and then for the rest of the season, summer into fall, will be held in Central Park Thursdays 4 to 8 p.m., Saturdays 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. Get out and encourage everybody to support those vendors that come out every week and make for some activity in our downtown. Job well done, and this one broke on Friday. It was pretty cool. A local resident noted that Spirit Airlines had somewhere along the way misplaced their luggage. It ended up in Houston, and I gather there wasn't a tag on it by the time the airline located it, but in a book in the baggage was a library book with the Leicester Public Library. Jeff, am I getting it straight so far? With Leicester, that indicated it was from the Leicester Public Library. Library didn't give out the person's information, which was very good of them, but did call this local resident to let them know. So again, thanks to the service at the Leicester Public Library, luggage was returned safely to a local resident. So that's way cool. And hopefully it was a great beach book or whatever they had to read on vacation. Also under the heading of other, if you drive up through the city developed Sandy Bay subdivision, there are 2 new homes under construction, one for a local family and the other being developed by an area developer builder as a spec home. It's been a long time since we've had a spec home built in Two Rivers, and that I think it's 3-bedroom, 3-car garage home is available. Funny thing is, about 10 minutes after I posted this on Facebook last Friday, I had a call from someone up in the Wausau area that said, where do I call to find out about that spec home? For the last 4 years, I've been trying to find a home in TR, and I'd really like to do something in that area. So I'm hoping that means there'll be another spec home or to order home getting built shortly. So we thank everybody that's making that development possible. That's new housing options for families. It's also tax base for the community. We had noted an upcoming potential grant application. The potential South Beach Restoration Project is something that was first identified in our 2013 Harbor Master Plan, which you can find on the city's website down at the lower left with our comprehensive plan and other plans. This was first vetted in 2013. The idea being to possibly install some structures along the shoreline, city-owned shoreline for the most part, between the Lighthouse Inn and the South Pier, to capture the sand drift, which generally heads north through that area. And a lot of it ends up, according to the Corps of Engineers, at the mouth of the harbor, where it ends up having to be dredged out. The idea is also, though, to introduce natural vegetation, enhance public access to this area, and although it wouldn't be blessed with an abundance of parking, possibly open up another attractive public beach area that the general public could use. If you wander back there now, and we do have a trail segment that runs behind the DPW, it's a beautiful stretch of south-facing beach. On a clear day, you can see the smokestacks in Sheboygan, just as a point of reference. But we as a staff provided this in response to a solicitation from the Great Lakes and St. Lawrence Cities Initiative and the Fund for Lake Michigan, who are jointly looking at projects around the Great Lakes, notably on the Wisconsin side of Lake Michigan when it comes to Fund for Lake Michigan, which is out of the Milwaukee area, with the idea of providing assistance to communities to advance projects that relate to environmental protection, green infrastructure, that sort of thing. And based on our submittals, there's a very strong interest shown. Darla is chair of the Public Works Committee and involved in the Environmental Advisory Board. Elizabeth Runge, our Community Development Director, and I took part in a conference call on this last week. No obligation to the city so far on this, but the folks who are dealing with, they're very enthused about the funding potential for this, with all of the additional money recently made available for Great Lakes restoration. So stay tuned. Could be a very cool project. Not a lot of detail here, but in the way of update on the next round of applications to Wisconsin DOT, as council and the public know, council did authorize applying for fiscal 2022 dollars. That application was submitted late April, early May for paving projects around town. We haven't heard anything back from the state yet as far as their evaluation of those applications. We have gotten a written commitment from the town of Two Rivers that that was received just today after they had a special meeting in late April. If we get the funding for Neshota Road, basically from Zlotnick out to County O, the town is open to sharing in 25% of the local match on that, or about $6,500 per current estimates. We hope sometime in May to get the word on those various asphalt resurfacing projects, because they have to be ready to, there have to be plans ready for bidding in August, and there would be bids let through DOT in November. Now, as you might recall, there's another round of applications for projects in 2023 through 2026. Those are due by early June. We'll be reviewing some potential projects with the Public Works Committee during the month of May and bringing something back to council as far as authorizing more applications. That's a little ways out, but if you don't get in line for the funding, there's no way we can bring it home for Two Rivers. And those projects can be more complicated than the first round, involving things like utility replacement and other issues. So stay tuned on that. And that is my report for tonight.
Did you touch on the farmer's market, craft market?
Yes, just briefly.
Okay.
It resumes here on May 21st.
I missed it.
Saturday, May
Perfect.
21. I was moving so fast you missed it, Mr.
I
President.
guess so, right?
Yes, sir.
What about number 6?
Number 6. I might have skipped one though. Oh, you know what? I think I did skip that slide. I was going to say, for those of you watching tonight on Facebook or on YouTube, you're doing fine. If you're watching on channel 993 on Charter, actually you're not watching, because we still have a problem there. After some testing last week by the folks at Charters, or excuse me, I still want to call it Charter, Spectrum's end of things, we did find that the technical term, but our sending unit here at City Hall, which is city property, has failed. That was a unit purchased in 2000. We have put an ask out to area school districts and municipalities around the state to see if anybody has one of those units that's available that they're not using. We're told that if we wanted to replace it with the current equivalent, because it'd be a little different technology, it's going to be a $10,000 plus cost and probably several months before there'd be any availability. Rick Powell, our IT director, has done some research on this. So we've hoped that maybe we could scrounge up one up there that some school district or other city isn't using. Haven't had any luck on that yet. We'll report back at the next meeting. But if it comes to a substantial outlay, I guess that's a decision point. A lot of public entities have gotten away from the cable casting or going over the cable broadcast for their meetings and public information. Our school district no longer uses the educational public access channel. Jamie, you'd told me, is it City of Kewanee, where you'd recently worked? They no longer are using it. Certainly Facebook and YouTube are options. I know people like watching it on cable, but it looks like we're going to be facing an investment decision on that. And quite honestly, I think the last time we bought one, it was probably with a grant from the cable company, because in the good old days, before the state again took away the city's right to negotiate took away the rights of cities to negotiate individual franchise agreements with the cable companies, and instead imposed a uniform statewide franchise agreement. We always used to negotiate a capital grant of say $10,000 or $20,000 that could pay for some of this equipment. So that's where we are right now. And I wish I had a different answer for you, but that's exactly where we are. After some delay, some troubleshooting, we've determined the problem is with a piece of our own electronic equipment.
Okay, thank you for the update.
Yeah, thanks for catching that, Scott. Didn't mean to skip that.
On to 10, the consent agenda. Under A, we have a presentation of minutes. There are 4 of those. The City Council special meeting on April 14th, 2022. The City Council meeting of April 18th, 2022. The City Council reorganizational meeting April 19th, 2022. And the City Council work session meeting April 25th, 2022. Recommended action is a motion to waive reading and adopt the minutes. Under B, we have minutes of meetings. There are 2 of those. There is a motion to receive and file. Under C, applications and petitions. We have an application for a temporary Class B license from the Two Rivers Fish Derby Foundation of the Kiwanis Club of Two Rivers for the Two Rivers Fish Derby, July 15th through the 17th, 2022, at the corner of 22nd Street and Polk Street in Two Rivers. We also have an application for a temporary Class B license from the Two Rivers Historical Society for open house May 26th, 2022 at 1622 Jefferson Street in Two Rivers. And we have one more, which is a Main Street Spring Wine and Beer Walk, Friday, May 13th, 2022, 5 till 8:30, downtown Two Rivers. The recommended action is a motion to approve the applications and authorize issuance of the licenses. The recommended action for the consent agenda is a motion to approve the consent agenda with various actions recommended. I'm looking for a motion on the consent agenda.
I'll move.
Thank you, Bonnie. Do I have a second? Thank you, Bill. Any council discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, very good. Moving on to number 11, City Council formal items. Under A, we have the announcement of council president's appointments to the standing committees of City Council. So we have 3 of those. We have a Personnel and Finance Committee, we have a Public Works Committee, and we have the Public Utilities Committee. So we'll start with the Personnel and Finance Committee. We have 3 members on there. We are appointing Jeff Dulke to the chair of that board. We are also appointing Bonnie Shimulunis to that board. And then myself will be on the Personnel and Finance Committee. Going over to the Public Works Committee, we have Tracy Coach, who is going to be the chair of the Public Works Committee. Also serving on that committee will be Bill LeClaire and Scott Steckmesser. Moving over to Public Utilities Committee, we have Darla LeClaire, who is going to chair that committee, along with Tim Petrie and Jason Ring. So those will round out the 3 council committees that only council serves on. Any questions or anyone that's unavailable to serve on one of those committees? No? Perfect. Okay, so then we're going to move on to B, which is a nomination and election of council representatives to citizens boards, committees, and commissions. And we do have a sheet that was brought to us with the current city council representation that we currently have on those boards. And of course, there are some vacancies from council members who have left after their term. So we're gonna go through these one by one.
Yep, and the sheet that was in your packet, you can certainly use to guide the order that you fill these. I just thought that this other sheet that Elizabeth, thank you, helped us run tonight, which you had at your work session, or excuse me, which was provided to you for the work session. I'm right, that's right. That has some additional detail, so you may want to reference that, like if you're wanting to check, well, gee, what night of the week does this group meet? What time do they meet? That sort of thing. But these are, and the list that you have in front of you, the short list that was in your packet, of course, does identify the council members that currently serve on the various boards and committees. That doesn't mean they have a lock on it, but it does give the council the opportunity, if those folks want to continue serving, to show you that courtesy. So then it would be, Mr. Chair, as formal or informal as the council wants to make it, but nominations and then votes on each of the appointments.
Okay, so the first one, or the one we will skip, is obviously the Room Tax Commission, because that comes up a little bit further in the agenda and
Right.
gets appointed by city manager. So we'll just go off the regular list, and under Advisory Recreation Board, we currently have Jeff Dulkey and myself serving on that board. So I'll go out first by saying that I would like to continue serving on that board. And I will ask Jeff if he would like to continue serving or if he would like to.
Yes, I would.
Okay, so that doesn't mean, again, it's a lock. So is there anyone else that would like to serve on that board? And they meet the second Tuesday of the month. Nobody else? Okay, so then it's gonna be myself and Jeff for another year. Perfect. Looking at the Board of Review, we have 2 current members on there, Bill LeClaire and Bonnie Shimmy-Lunas. Do you guys both prefer to stay on that board? Okay,
Yeah, I can stay, but if somebody does, if there's more people who want it, it's all right.
well, lucky for them, we have 1 opening. So if there is that person that really wants to get on that board, we do have an opening. Either which way, we have an opening, so that opening should get filled.
This board's got a statutory role to hear assessment appeals if a taxpayer, after open book, where they have an opportunity to come in and meet with the city assessor to discuss any questions or concerns about their assessment, can ultimately appeal it to the Board of Review. As noted on when it meets, there's a statutory requirement to meet in May. So there is a meeting on the second Monday, but that's typically, in our case, has been to elect officers and adjourn to reconvene in August when the city assessor has the tax roll completed. We don't have a full-time assessor. We have a contractor who serves, I think, 3 communities now. So typically, the Board of Review actually meets to hear any assessment appeals in August. And help me out, other Board of Review members, a minimum 2 or 3 hours that we're required to meet by statute.
2 hours.
2 hours, thank you, Jack. And the last 2 years, there have not been any appeals. That doesn't mean you couldn't be inundated with appeals.
There was one.
Was there 2 years ago?
With the. They have to go through.
And there is an opportunity for online training for Board of Review members. There's a statutory requirement that at least, I don't remember this either, but at least one or two of us have gotten that training within the past year. But especially if you're a new member, it's useful to get the training anyway, so you have a little more
You
ground.
have to have that training every 2 years, I think.
I believe so. Yeah.
Hey, does anyone want to join the Board of Review? Looks like they only meet twice, so that's a bonus.
And you get paid an extra $100 for it. It's the only board that carries any additional compensation.
And there's a bonus.
Although those 2-hour meetings are long, especially when nobody comes.
$50 an hour, not
Yeah.
bad. Anyone looking to join the Board of Review, we need one, so hopefully somebody wants to rise to the occasion. Okay, good. Scott.
Very good.
Scott says he's gonna join. $100 signed him up. I like it. Why not?
You don't get $100.
What's
Do
that?
you? Did you say $100?
Don't they by ordinance get compensated?
Yeah, you get compensated, but not $100.
Maybe I lied,
I
I'm
was
sorry.
familiar with like 20.
It got Scott to sign up.
All right, so we got Scott on there. So going on to the next one, we have the Business and Industrial Development Committee, Community Development Authority, better known as the BIDC and the CDA.
Oh, passing branding and marketing.
I was going right in order of this one.
Oh, okay. Oh, I'm looking at this. Okay,
Sorry.
sorry.
Right.
You want me to follow that one?
No. Oh, this is good.
Branding and marketing's not even on this other one. Oh, yeah. Okay. So yeah, we'll just follow this one. Sorry, that's the sheet I was filling out.
Okay, that's,
All right, so we have one person on there currently, which is Tracy Coach. We will ask Tracy, do you want to continue to serve on that committee?
yes, I do.
Okay. We also have a vacancy. Does anyone want to join that committee?
I would throw my hat in.
Jason would like to join that committee, okay? Anybody else? Oh, so we are gonna put Jason on that committee. It is $100?
I stand corrected, it's $10.
Oh,
25 if it goes all day. I don't think that one's been adjusted in a while. I apologize.
10, 100, who cares?
Hmm.
All
I just
right,
wanted
so
it to 100.
we just completed the BIDC CDA to Jason. Greg, that's what you missed.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so moving on to Commission of Equal Opportunities and Housing. We have one person currently on there, which is Bonnie. Bonnie, do you want to continue to serve on that?
Yes, but I'll let you know that it never meets.
Okay, well, perfect. We got a vacancy there too.
My understanding, we need it in place in the event there are ever any complaints about fair housing violations. We've never received any. And we have reached out to the state about possibly training members in state equal opportunity law, but I'm not sure they're coming out yet post-COVID. But that's-
So do we have a volunteer that wants to join as needed? So that's a good thing. You don't necessarily meet every month. Looking for a volunteer.
I think we got-
Okay, Tim said he's in. I like it. Okay, we got that filled, so we're gonna go to the Committee of Aging. No vacancy there, but Bill is currently serving. Bill, would you like to continue on that?
Yeah, I got gray hair.
Is there anybody else that would like to serve on that? There is no vacancy, but you could make a run for that if you'd wish. Seeing no one, we're gonna stick with Bill. Bill has been good on that committee anyway, so good. Next one is the Community Development Block Grant Housing Committee. We have one person currently on there, which is Bill.
This one meets as needed and again, hasn't met for several years. Just a little background, this committee used to review every proposed loan for low to moderate income households under the program. The state, due to some privacy requirements that took effect about 5 or more years ago, said no, public bodies don't need to look at the specific applications as long as they meet as long as the applicants meet criteria. However, if we ever were to want to change within what's allowed, because this is federal money, how these monies are being spent, or whether they were to be citywide as it is now, or targeted to like a neighborhood improvement area. We need this committee to deal with those issues, but it's been several years since this committee met.
Okay, so currently on there is Bill. Bill, do you want to? Seems like you're doing a bang up job, huh?
I get $10.
Yeah, I don't know. Greg might buy you a pizza.
No money for this one. Yeah.
All right, we do have a vacancy on this one as well, so looking for someone to fill that vacancy. You don't meet much.
I can fill it.
Okay, good job, Bonnie.
I'll be on all these committees that never meet.
Anyone want to challenge that? All good, perfect. Going on to the Environmental Advisory Board. We have one member. That member is Jeff. Do you want to continue to serve on the Environmental Advisory Board? Okay. Does anyone want? Yes.
There's one slot and I chair the meeting, or I chair the board.
Mhm.
So would it make more sense if I just take the city council member space since I'm already there chairing it?
I don't see you on here.
She wasn't on the city council and she was a citizen member.
And we got it.
Is that the vacancy, citizen?
That may be. Is that how? I know you attend also because this committee, per the ordinance, is supposed to be advisory to the Public Works Committee, which Darla chaired this past
Right.
year.
Right.
It's
but I-
what shows, and I'm not disputing, what I show is a Susan, a vacancy citizen, Donald, Brian, Ben, Gerald, Jay, student, and then Jeff as the council. I don't know who, doesn't show a chair on there, Greg.
No, the committee would usually, other than the subcommittees of council, and I think I got this one right, where the council president appoints the chairs, the committees typically, I think, again, Darla has chaired those meetings as, I think, as
Citizen?
chair of Public Works because they're meant to be advisory to Public Works.
Okay.
And nobody wrestled the gavel away from her. So,
Nobody was interested.
yeah.
Okay, so how does she fit on this board right now?
She could be, honestly, are you a member presently on the board or have you been attending as the Public Works Committee Chair?
I guess in that capacity.
my
but I'm
understanding.
you're heading it, getting, with Jim McDonald, just getting the speakers lined up, just doing the research like with the agriculture and see how it fits in with our, what our focus is for environmental.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if
I don't
somebody
believe-
wants to take that and take over that role, that's.
Okay, so we currently have Jeff who wants to stay on. You would like to challenge that?
Or just have me continue on as chair.
Okay,
I know it's kind of convoluted, but, if somebody wants to take over the research that I'm doing, they
If the
can.
committee is, I guess my input, if the committee is fine with it.
yeah, I
You're not the
don't,
chair per se, but you've been organizing the meetings as the chair of Public Works, which this committee is advisory to.
Because they do go.
I don't know, city attorney, is there a hard and fast rule there? If this committee is willing to submit itself to Darla's leadership, is that okay?
on these committees, usually the committee itself appoints its own chair,
Yeah.
except for Plan Commission.
Usually it's from its membership.
Right, it's not something that I do or anyone else here does, so I don't know that I can say that for sure, because that's gotta be up to the committee. and
Okay,
its
well, if
membership.
Jeff wants to take that spot, and I'll just give you everything that I've got so it can continue on.
Yep,
Okay.
I understand. This is environmental
Maybe.
advisory.
Yep, and we will have a second citizen.
Don't even know if that's mentioned in the ordinance. Oh, here it is.
We'll wait for the city attorney to look that up briefly, just to make sure we're doing.
Really address selection of a chairperson. There is a requirement for a secretary in the ordinance. A person from the Public Works Department. Otherwise, 6 citizen members to be appointed, staggered 2-year terms. 1 council member to be named annually.
And help me out, Jack, hasn't the interpretation in the past been if the ordinance calls out for a council seat that that kind of precludes 2 council members serving, that the legislative intent was a council member, and even though all council members are citizens, that it wasn't to be construed as allowing for more than 1 council member.
The ordinance just refers to a selection of, or appointment of 1 member of the council. So it'd be kind of hard to construe that as allowing for 2.
Yeah, calling 1 a citizen wouldn't really work. Now, you could change the ordinance, but otherwise it's 1 council member.
I don't know of anything that would prevent you from changing the ordinance. I don't think that's a statutory.
This is a creature of the city's own creation. The fact is, I think working as chair of the Public Works Committee, Darrell has put a lot of work into to resuscitate this committee and its role. So that, if she's interested in continuing that and the committee is willing to do that, I don't see that's a problem, although she would not be a committee member in that instance.
No, I don't see anything that prohibits it in the ordinance. I'd be surprised if anyone would object to it. I don't know what the basis of an objection would be, if that was satisfactory to the board itself.
So that would be something that's gonna go before that board. In other words,
Some of the people on that board, I can't see any, they liked it the way it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody was hopping up to chair it, so.
Right.
And
That's how
yeah.
you ended up with it.
So I don't, I mean, if you want it, I can give you all of my stuff.
I don't have time to do all the research like you do, so, and you do a whole lot more research than I would. So, I mean, if we can't keep it as it is, then I would just hand it over the council seat to you.
Okay with you?
this is up to all of us, yeah.
Okay.
That's entirely up to everyone.
I'm good with it, yeah, with taking that slot.
Okay, so you're gonna pass it on to Darla. Got it. You don't serve on the Public Works anymore.
Right.
We made it, okay, perfect. Okay. On to the library board. There is 1 council member. That person is currently Tracy Coach. Tracy, do you intend to stay on the library board?
I can.
Okay. Does anybody else want to contend that spot that Tracy has on the library board? See none, it's yours. On to Plan Commission. There's 1 council seat on the Plan Commission that does belong to me. I have no problem staying aboard. I've been there for a while, so at the same time, if somebody else really wants that seat, go ahead, throw your hand up. That's not a big deal. On it?
Well, I'm gonna come anyway. Because I like to, as much as I can, go to it. It doesn't actually matter to me if I'm voting or. You still vote no all the time?
Oh, Jesus. Every now and again, Bonnie, every now and again, that no comes out. I have no problem staying on that, so if nobody else wants it. Starting to sound like Tracy's mom.
Right?
All right, then I will stay aboard there. Branding and marketing. It looks like we have 3 vacancies, including the chairperson.
And there are some citizen vacancies. Council may want to appoint reps to this committee. This is one, seeing how we've got some changes ongoing in the tourism area. I could see this committee perhaps going away. That's council's decision, but over the course of this year. It really spearheaded the branding efforts, rolling out of the branding. I think a lot of those things now are in an implementation phase with the tourism, the Room Tax Commission and possibly a new tourism entity. This committee hasn't met for several months now, and we've lost several members.
So before we go into council and get some opinions, is it fair to say maybe not nominate anyone and look to take this?
Take this up at a work session, say, and
And-
possibly, if there aren't any strenuous objections, I think this is a committee that's due to head for the history books.
Okay, I saw Bill's hand up, so I'll get to him quick because he did have a
Well,
comment.
it's, you know, we hired a new tourism director, Amy, and she's doing a lot of investigating right now. Talking about where I think this is gonna be replaced by tourism.
Yeah, I think a lot of its functions will be.
Okay, so does anyone have any heartburn about skipping over this one, taking it up at a work session to see if this committee is gonna even continue on? I know that last year there were some votes to have it go away, so I don't think there's a lot of heartburn with some people on this council for it going away in the first place. Okay, so we'll just take this up at the work session. We will skip it and not appoint anyone.
No action, and the clerk will note in the minutes where that's headed to a
Okay.
work session.
So then the last one that we have is a Main Street representative. That is currently Darla Leclerc. Darla, do you want to stay on as the Main Street representative?
Yes, I would like that very much.
Does anybody want to contend that with Darla? I see no hands, so that goes right back to Darla, and that should be completed. I don't think we have anything else to appoint.
Just one other one. I'm sorry, Adam, but it's not a it's not a statute, excuse me. It's not a committee established by ordinance of council, but one that didn't make it on this list that is on page 23 of the handout is the Splash Pad and Ice Rink Planning Committee. Now, the planning committee may only meet one or two more times as the project hopefully goes to bid this summer. Right now, Tracy Coach is on that committee, and we have a vacancy because our former
Jeff.
council member is.
Or no, Jay.
Jay.
Jay was on that
Jay
one, not Jeff.
Remacher was on here. So again, I'm not saying it'll meet more than once or twice as the project moves forward. The focus has been much more the fundraising committee lately. But, and actually, Scott Steckmesser has been on there as a citizen member. So if council would like to act on that appointment, that was one that was not, didn't go over to the regular boards and committees list.
So what we'll do here is, even though it says there's a vacancy, we do have a citizen member that is now on council that is on that board. We will say that Scott will fill that council vacancy if he would like to wish. And then if anyone would like to contend that, we will still leave that open for someone to contend that spot. So do you wish to stay on that committee?
Yes.
Okay. Does anybody else wish to contend him on that committee?
Is everything set in stone with the plan for the splash pad?
Don't think it's necessarily set in stone. It's moving forward. There's money coming in, but there could be some variations to it, but I'm going to let Greg speak
I
to
mean,
that.
nothing's over till it's over, but the city council, after a lot of discussion and a couple of joint meetings with the design committee last November, gave its blessing to, I'll call it the final concept plan, and that includes making West Park Street one way and the locations for various features, and gave the authorization to go to fundraising for that plan. So I think the basic design as to what's located where, assuming the fundraising is successful, my take is that's moving forward. And that's what we've represented to the community. At the end of the day, does the city council have the authority to change that? Yes.
Cause I've heard, complaints about the splash pad being so close to Main Street, or what is gonna be there to keep the kids from running into the road while mom's taking the other one to the bathroom or concession stand or something, or.
Yeah, and as we've shared at some meetings, like on, if I might, on that one, one of the nice aspects of the design, and this was discussed when that meeting in November took place, and then the vote, is there's a fair grade difference between Washington Street and West Park, especially in the south half of the park. I want to say it's 3 or 4 feet difference. So along the area adjacent to the splash pad or the water feature and the skating loop, there's a seating wall, retaining wall that's about 18 inches high on the Washington Street side. So that was seen as providing a physical barrier, at least for little ones that would go, say a 2 or 3-year-old that might go running off in that direction. So I think the council's consensus and the decision that was made reflected the satisfaction with that being addressed. So.
One thing that could be done is with the new members, well, Scott, you've been on this since day one, but for Jason with you, Tim, to just sit down, you could be shown what the design is and where we're at. If that would help, then you'd understand, it would answer a lot of your questions.
My 1-year-old grand, 18 inch. Get over if they want to go somewhere, so.
Okay, no, I think that would be good if,
We'd be happy to. Again, respectfully, we went through this, we've gone to the community for fundraising. We certainly can fine tune design issues, but there's also a credibility issue when we make decisions and say something's moving ahead. But I'd be happy to set up a meeting for anybody interested to describe that.
Okay, so if anyone's interested in that, please see the city manager, email him, call him, either which way, and we can set that up to put minds
we
at
can
ease or to change maybe some small designs that can go before the design board if that need be.
It'd be, sure.
Okay, that is it for those boards and committees, correct?
Yep.
We are not filling the other one that's on the last page of your handout, right? The Visitor Convention Bureau?
No, that's a separate, oh, no, we are not.
Right, that's what I thought.
I'm not recommending anything there because while their bylaws provide for a municipal rep from each of the cities, we are no longer, as of December 31st, contributing room tax nor covered by an agreement.
That's what I thought, but I saw it on there, so I want to double check to make sure nothing changed. Okay. Then we are moving on to C, which are appointments to the City Room Tax Commission. I will just take a quick lead into this one. Council President normally does sit on that, but I can also assign a designee by ordinance, and I am going to do that. I'm going to assign Kurt Andrews to continue serving on that board as my designee. So the rest of them, the appointments will go from Greg, and he can go away there right now.
Again, the ordinance provides for a 1-year appointment. So this is basically from May 1 till the end of April of next year. The ordinance calls out 2 specific positions. Well, as Adam just explained, the council president gets to designate someone to serve for his term on the Room Tax Commission, which he has opted to do again. The city manager sits on the Room Tax Commission by ordinance. There are then 3 additional positions on the 5-member body that the ordinance provides for city manager appointments subject to approval by the city council. I'd like to and those 2 of those can be either council representatives or citizens. And then the 5th position is to be a hotel and motel industry representative. That's per our ordinance. That's also a requirement of the state statute on room tax. So my recommendations are that Councilmember Bill LeClaire be appointed. This would be Bill's 2nd term, at least 2nd term on the Room Tax Commission. He currently serves and has indicated a willingness to continue doing so. And by the way, there is a vacancy on council reps because Mark Bittner had served on the Room Tax Commission before completing his his term on council. As a citizen for this coming year, I'm recommending appointment of Peter Crabb, Executive Administrative Director over at the Woodtype Museum, who's in the audience and who you heard from earlier tonight. In addition to heading up one of the larger cultural institutions and attractions in the community at Woodtype, Peter also has prior experience when he was working in California in the Channel Islands National Wildlife Sanctuary with a museum in that area, was serving on the Visitor Convention Bureau for the Channel Islands area. So relevant experience, also involved with a local attraction. And he's also willing to serve, I might add. And then finally, for the hotel and motel industry, and industry's word out of statute, representative, I'm recommending Rick Carey from Two Rivers Hotel Group, who are the developers and owners of the Cobblestone Hotel. the lodging industry or hotel motel industry rep. Currently on that body is Jim Van Lanen Jr., the Lighthouse Inn. He's served faithfully on that committee. His service is very much appreciated. He is also continuing his membership on the board and I believe as treasurer of the Manitowoc Area Visitor Convention Bureau. That dual membership over the past year for both him and Mr. Bittner when Mark was on here, because Mark was also the city rep to the MAVCB, did create a conflict situation a couple of times and they had to abstain from voting on matters because of memberships on both. So those are my recommendations. Would ask council approval of one-year appointments to the Room Tax Commission for Bill Leclerc, Peter Crabb, and Rick Carey.
Okay, so we are voting on this. I didn't see that on the agenda, so I didn't know that we were.
Appointments to City Room Tax Commission, 11C.
Just didn't have a motion on there, so I
Oh,
didn't
I'm
know if
sorry.
it's for information.
I'm sorry, no, there wasn't a motion or a recommended action listed, but you could still vote on this
Okay,
if you wish.
perfect.
Yes.
So looking for a motion to appoint the city's room tax commission as stated by Greg Buckley. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Tracy. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Darla. Council discussion.
And I'm going to abstain from this vote. And I feel like there's no actual conflict here because our organization, but I feel there could be a perception of a conflict there. So I will just abstain from the vote.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other discussion? See none, I'm going to throw you for a loop because we didn't discuss this. We will do a roll call vote.
Jeff Dalkey,
Aye.
Tracy Coach,
Aye.
Bill Leclerc,
Aye.
Darla Leclerc,
Aye.
Tim Petrie,
Aye.
Jason Ring,
Abstain.
Bonnie Shimulunis,
Aye.
Scott Steckmesser,
Aye.
Adam Huskey.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right. Moving on to D. It is a noise ordinance waiver for Beach Bash, Friday, June 24th and Saturday, June 25th until 11:30 PM. Waive the provisions of section 9-2-5B, 2B regarding noise audible within an enclosed structure used for residential purposes and section 9-2-5D pertaining to vibration. The recommended action is a motion to approve the request as submitted. I'm looking for a motion on that.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Tracy. Second by Bill. Any council discussion? As the event organizer, I will abstain from this vote as well. So roll call vote.
Jeff Dalkey,
Aye.
Tracy Coach,
Aye.
Bill Leclerc,
Aye.
Darla Leclerc,
Aye.
Tim Petrie, Jason Ring,
Aye.
Bonnie Shimulunis,
Aye.
Scott Steckmesser,
Aye.
Adam Huskey.
Abstain.
Motion carries.
Okay, moving on to E, it's a proclamation of Arbor Day, April 29th, 2022. The recommended action is a motion to waive reading and adopt the proclamation. Page 29 in your packets, and we'll go to Greg on this.
Just would note there was on Friday an Arbor Day observance with tree planting. I believe that was at Lakeshore Park. That has passed, but it also in order for the city to keep its Tree City USA status. In addition to that event, there is an expectation of, albeit a few days after the fact, an Arbor Day proclamation. We had the observance on time.
All right, we're looking for a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Darla. Do I have a second? Thank you, Tracy. Any council discussion? See none, this is a roll call vote. Jamie?
Tracy Coach,
Aye.
Bill Leclerc,
Aye.
Darla Leclerc,
Aye.
Tim Petrie,
Aye.
Jason Ring,
Aye.
Bonnie Shimulunis,
Aye.
Scott Steckmesser,
Aye.
Adam Huskey,
Aye.
Jeff Dalkey.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Moving on to F, which is a proclamation naming the week of May 15th through the 21st, 2022 as Police Week and May 15th, 2022 as Peace Officers Memorial Day. Page 30 in your packet. The recommended action is a motion to read and adopt the proclamation. And I don't know if Chief's, I figured, okay. Chief, do you want to come and read that proclamation?
Proclamation naming the week of May 15 through 21, 2022 as Police Week and May 15, 2022 as Police Officers Memorial Day. Whereas the Congress and President of the United States have designated May 15 as Peace Officers Memorial Day and the week in which it falls as National Police Week. And whereas the members of Two Rivers Police Department play an essential role in the safeguarding the rights and freedoms of the citizens of the city of Two Rivers. And whereas it is important that all citizens know and understand the duties, responsibilities, hazards, and sacrifices of their law enforcement agency, and that members of our police department recognize their duty to serve the people by safeguarding life and property, by protecting them against violence or disorder, and by protecting the innocent against deception and the weak against oppression. And whereas the men and women of the Two Rivers Police Department unceasingly provide a vital public service. Now, therefore, the City Council of the City of Two Rivers calls upon all citizens and upon all patriotic, civic, and educational organizations to observe the week of May 15 through May 21, 2022 as Police Week. And be it further resolved that the City Council further calls upon all citizens of Two Rivers to observe May 15, 2022 as Police Officers Memorial Day in honor of those law enforcement officers who, through their courageous deeds, have made the ultimate sacrifice in service to their community or have become disabled in the performance of duty. And let us recognize and pay respect to the survivors of our fallen heroes. Dated this second day of May, 2022.
All right, thank you, Chief. I'm looking for a motion on this.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Jeff. Do I have a second? Scott, thank you very much. Any council discussion? See none, roll call vote, please.
Bill Leclerc,
Aye.
Darla Leclerc,
Aye.
Tim Petrie,
Aye.
Jason Ring,
Aye.
Bonnie Shimulunis,
Aye.
Scott Steckmesser,
Aye.
Adam Wahusky,
Aye.
Jeff Dalkey,
Aye.
Tracy Coach.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Going to G, which is another proclamation. This one is of National Drinking Water Week, which is May 1st through the 7th, 2022. Page 31 in our packet. The recommended action is a motion to read and adopt the proclamation. Greg?
Yes, and our water department representatives will come forward on that. Or Andrew, our newest water department representative, along with Ross.
So the proclamation naming the week of May 1st through the 7th, 2022 is National Drinking Water Week. Whereas water follows a natural cycle from earth to air to earth again, and whereas water is a basic and essential need of all living things, and whereas our health, comfort, and standard of living depend upon an abundant supply of safe drinking water, and whereas the ever-tightening standards for drinking water make better facilities and better trained personnel essential, now therefore the City Council of the City of Two Rivers hereby proclaims the week of May 1st through the 7th, 2022 as National Drinking Water Week in the City of Two Rivers and urges all citizens to recognize the special contributions of the Two Rivers Water Department and the special efforts of the staff who work every day to enhance the well-being of the citizens of our community. Dated this second day of May, 2022.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Looking for a motion on this. Thank you, Bill. Do I have a second? Jason, thank you. Any council discussion? See none. Once again, roll call vote.
Darla Leclerc,
Aye.
Tim Petrie,
Aye.
Jason Ring,
Aye.
Bonnie Shimulunis,
Aye.
Scott Steckmesser,
Aye.
Adam Wahusky,
Aye.
Jeff Dalkey,
Aye.
Tracy Coach,
Aye.
Bill Leclerc.
Aye.
Motion carries.
On to H, which is a resolution naming May 14th, 2022 as International Migratory Bird Day. The recommended action is a motion to waive reading and adopt the resolution. Page 32 in our packet. And Greg?
Just in brief, in lieu of reading the whole resolution, Two Rivers being where we are here on the lake, we're on one of the major North American flyways, and you see that every fall and spring, not only with waterfowl that travel up and down the shore, but other migratory birds that stop in at woodland dunes, the state forest, and other major natural areas nearby. Also, we see a lot of folks coming to this area for birding. It's part of our ecotourism and something that the area is getting more known for as well. Two Rivers is a bird city, USA, and have submitted our application for 2022 with some help from Woodland Dunes Nature Center, who we've partnered with on that designation. So this is to raise awareness of the guests that pass over, many in the middle of the night that pass through our area overhead. Likewise, the loss of a lot of species of songbirds and other birds in recent years due to development and other environmental factors. So with that, in that birds are a big part of our lives here and a growing part of our economy with ecotourism, would recommend approval of the resolution.
Right, we are looking for a motion on this.
So moved.
Thank you, Darla. Second? Thank you, Bill. Any discussion? Seeing none, once again, roll call vote. Jamie?
Tim Petrie.
Aye.
Jason Ring.
Aye.
Donnie Shimulunis.
Aye.
Scott Steckmesser.
Aye.
Adam Wahusky.
Aye.
Jeff Dalke.
Aye.
Tracy Coach.
Aye.
Bill Leclerc.
Aye.
Darrell Leclerc.
Aye.
Motion carries.
On to I, which is a resolution regarding streaming and television of the city council meetings. The recommended action is a motion to waive reading and adopt the resolution. You can go to page 34 in your packet. Greg, any background?
This is a matter that I think Jeff Dalke had brought up at a couple of past regular meetings. Citizens interested in viewing and having the ability to view from home. People are always welcome to come to meetings, but the ability to view special meetings of the city council, especially those where actions were being taken. So I put this resolution together trying to boil down as best I can what I understood our discussion to be at the work session last Monday, where this was an agenda item. The gist of it is in items 1 through 6, which basically are saying the council affirms you want to continue streaming and broadcasting of regular council meetings. I'll say that with a big caveat about the whole thing with the piece of equipment we need to go out over spectrum. But generally in this resolution, you're stating you want to continue streaming, sharing online, sharing via broadcast, regular council meetings, commence streaming and televising special council meetings, including the monthly council work session, whenever the agendas for those meetings include any action items. That was my understanding. 3, not routinely stream or televise any special meeting or portion of a special meeting that involves only discussion of the listed agenda items with no council action planned. Planned would mean so indicated on the agenda. Or when the only action item listed on the agenda pertains to a matter first being discussed in closed session and identified as subject of possible council action upon reconvening in open session. You recall we had that discussion. Do you want to put up a slide that says council in closed session? We'll resume streaming. The consensus last week at least was no, not on those. 4, to the extent practical or practicable, then place action items at the beginning of any special meeting agenda prior to any discussion only items. I think that'd be a good general rule with the exception of those things that might be acted on after closed session. And then continue the current practice at regular meetings of ending the streaming and televising when the council enters closed session, even if the agenda provides for possible action on matters discussed in closed session after reconvening in open. Now that, sorry to make this sound so complicated, but I did want to add there, so long as there aren't any other action items that are listed following the closed session. Typically, our agendas don't include routine business items after the closed session. We put the closed at the tail end of the agenda. We would not intend to hide items on the agenda after the closed session that are just open session items. And likewise, observe the practice described in 5 when the council goes into closed session during a special meeting. That was what I came out of the meeting with. There was some preference expressed by council members to keeping things the way they are with regard to special meetings, especially the work sessions, which are open to the public but are not currently streamed or televised. There were some folks that said, to only interest of openness and transparency or whatever adjective you want to put on it, it would be better to have everything, every council meeting telecast Then there was some middle ground suggested that was, for the most part, all action items with that one exception, being streamed, televised, if we're televising, and shared with the community. So council's pleasure, this is council policy, but this was my understanding of the discussion last week.
Okay, looking for a
Make a
motion.
motion.
Thank you, Jeff. Looking for a second. Tim, thank you very much. Council discussion. Go ahead, Jeff.
I still think we need to tape the whole thing. Just let the entire meeting, work sessions be available to the public to see, start to finish, other than closed session. I mean, I've talked to dozens of people about this and they always ask me, why don't we get to see work sessions? It's convenient for them to see, be able to see everything from the convenience of their own home and keep them informed.
Anybody else have an opinion? Yes, Jeff, Jason.
Adam, I guess my thoughts are similar to Jeff's, but different. I feel like if we come back from a closed session and we have a vote on something that was discussed in closed session, that should still be part of the televised broadcast. So if we can, take the camera down and bring it back up for a vote, I really think that should be a part of the meeting. As for work sessions, I'm fine with only work sessions that have an actionable item on them being listed as public, or they're public. People can come and attend, but I don't think that it has to be online if there's not a action item happening.
Okay. Anybody else have an opinion on this? Connie?
The thing is, I don't know how to say some of it for words, because all of you people were there last session where sometimes you're discussing something the problem is bringing up examples, because you don't always want to bring up examples that might be personal. And I don't know how else to say the words. If we were talking about the sex offender stuff, and you don't want to bring up a name or an example in a public setting, you can come to it. It is still a public setting, but that's the only reason that I'm going to vote no on this. Otherwise, I think the meetings should be televised and people should come. I mean, and there's also a lot of discussion in these smaller committees. Are they all going to be televised too? There's a lot of things that are talked about in the smaller committees that, I don't know. I understand that people want to know about stuff, but
Well, the current one that we have here is not streaming the work sessions unless we have an action item.
yeah. When people might wonder though, we don't have that many action items in work sessions. Do you think, maybe I'm not recalling it correctly.
We don't usually have a ton, but it does happen. And I mean, maybe half of them have roughly thereabout. Maybe more often. It might only be one item on the entire agenda that's an action item, and the rest might just be for discussion, but it does happen.
Again, and again, this was just trying to reflect the discussion that took place at a properly noticed public work session a week ago. And that was the thought of sort of splitting the baby on the work sessions. Right, if it was all discussion items with no action anticipated, my understanding where the council members stood, didn't vote on it, but was no, there was a general preference not to televise those that were discussion only. What I'd also heard, and again, that can all change, this is your policy, was if it's a work session agenda that has a couple of action items, and sometimes we do as a matter of convenience. It's a third meeting and there's a grant application, there's somebody's liquor license application. We might have one of those coming up, where we've had them anyway, where they need something taken up quickly. We take advantage of, in a good way, take advantage of that availability. It's duly posted and noted, but this anticipates after those action items, then the televising of the work session would cease. Again, not my idea. That's what I heard collectively a number of the council members expressed last week. So, yeah, I guess I was just trying to understand, I think Adam, may have been what your concern about this as written would be, because I'm not sure I know.
What I'm concerned about,
Relative to what's in front of you now.
I'm concerned about bringing up personal items, like even the, um, even the police chief said is for things like this, sometimes I'd rather not have it. It's more like that. I'd rather not be saying things. And I know it's rare. I understand that. The other thing though, if you don't televise them when there's action items, are people gonna start wondering, well, now, why didn't they televise this one? You know how people are.
Sometimes people choose to question, sometimes council members choose to explain things.
Yes,
Sometimes maybe you don't. I don't know. That's your
yes.
call.
Anybody else? Tracy, Bill, I'm sorry, I had Bill first.
Agree with Jason that, you know, if we have a special meeting and we're voting on something, it should be recorded. Same with the work. And it should be action items, anything that we're voting on. People should know. I know 2 weeks.
Okay, Tracy?
And I was going to support that well, in the sense that a lot of people, they aren't getting newspapers anymore. So they're getting their information online, so better to have it from the horse's mouth online.
Have a closed session and we're voting on something afterwards, it should be recorded.
Okay. Do we have to keep our IT guy here for that? Probably, huh?
If you want reliable service, you might want to keep him here. Yeah, because I mean, that would mean, I assume, because if somebody tunes in, you don't want them just to get a black screen. It would be, you know, city council meeting underway, council's in closed session, broadcast will resume after the closed session. Unless, I'm not going to say I've got the proficiency or any of our other department heads to be doing that. The other thing you could do, I'm just suggesting there, you could, in lieu of recording it, would be when the tape goes out the next day, put some sort of addendum on the end saying, upon reconvening an open session at the end of this meeting, the council took the following action, or no action was taken. And that could be, that wouldn't be the same as recording it and having it to watch, but it would at least put a period at the end of it saying, by the way, the live broadcast ended here. Here's the rest of the story. Does that make sense, Rick? Could you add effectively something to that effect, edited on to the tail end of a meeting when it's replayed? Okay. No, that's what I mean. Effectively a slide, a still image. Just an idea.
Are you talking a slide or are you talking text in general, Rick?
And when I say edit, please don't anybody get out the idea out there, and please don't any of you concur with this. Don't we edit now to eliminate the 5 or 10 minutes that the camera is rolling and we're all wandering in and out? You're clipping. No. Okay, but that's clipping. It's not adding. Gotcha. Okay.
Okay, anybody else want to chime in before I do? Jeff?
I just still think if we're gonna be broadcasting any of it, we should broadcast all of it. I mean, we're broadcast our discussion now in regular session. So why can't we in closed session And how many people actually talked to the public about this? I know I did. I talked to a lot of people. Most of them had approached me throughout the course of the time when everything wasn't working on Spectrum, but there's still several dozen people that I talked about it, and they thought the whole thing should be taped, start to finish.
Well, we can't tape closed session.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, the same as it is now. I mean, we're
Okay.
done with closed
Yep.
session, we're done with closed session. Like
Yep.
Greg said, put the text at the end, what happened, but
Mm.
there's no harm in doing the whole thing because we tape our discussion now. And as far as transparency goes for everybody out there in the public, I think it'll go a long, long way.
Anybody else? I would agree. I think as much as sometimes like Bonnie says, sometimes there is some stuff that you don't, when you set an example of a certain thing, she brings up the sex offender, and I can agree with her on that. You may not always want that to go out to a video that people can watch forever and ever and ever, but at the same time, they could come in here and we'd be talking about the same thing. They just wouldn't have it on video. It'd be nice to have that for those people that maybe really do care about the politics of the city of Two Rivers, but maybe can't always get here to be able to see what we're talking about. So I would have no problem if we stream our work sessions. I don't think we should keep Rick here through our closed session just so he can come here and tape us saying yes or no to a specific issue. I think that's a total waste of his time. And I think that'd be a total waste of anyone's time probably watching even online. To sit there, sometimes closed sessions are, could be, hour plus long of dead time for anyone that's watching. But I think we should somehow put it on the text like Rick was talking about. So when they watch the video, they can see what we voted on and who voted in what direction. So I think Jamie could provide that easily to Rick to say, here's what was voted on, here was the motion, and here's who voted yes, here's who voted no, and this is what happened. I think that would be an easier way of doing it. And personal opinion, we got to change our motion, and I think Jeff was the mover on that. So if we do want to change any of this, we do have to change our motion. So the mover and the shaker would have to go along with it. So Jeff, if you're looking to change stuff, fire away.
Yeah, I'd say change it that we broadcast the entirety minus closed sessions.
Who was the second? Tim.
Could we put something like in a highlighted comment after? Would that be easier to put in? Oh, like a comment specifically by the city?
I think Rick was saying it had to be in text form. I don't think we can do a slide. I don't think they can tape us.
You know, like how the city could make a comment on it, and if you could start our comments, those people.
Yep. I think effectively you would put that in the description.
Yeah, we could. The other thing that you might want to keep in mind is that this information will already be available through published minutes.
Right. I think we're trying to avoid to have the people to go in several spots to see the same thing. I think that's some of it, that some people are older and they already have a problem navigating through the internet, that we're not trying to give them multiple. I understand what you're saying, because yeah, it is all in public minutes. Anyone can see anything that we do, but it might be easier just to keep that with the video. Is that eeasy enough?
We can make something work. We'll figure it out.
I figured you
yeah.
could.
Yeah.
You're a true pro. That's what we like about you. There's a song like that too, just so you know. That's what I like about you. All right. So we have that by you and by you. So that is the new motion. Jamie, do you have that covered? Perfect. Any other council discussion now that we changed the motion?
Okay, seeing how you got a resolution in front of you, can I suggest what I understand the amendment to be, because it wasn't a simple motion. It was on this. Bear with me.
Yep.
Number one would stay as is. That just affirms you're gonna keep televising regular meetings.
Yep.
Number two would read, begin streaming and televising special council meetings, including the monthly council work session in their entirety. except for any closed sessions.
Yep.
Okay. Number 3 and number 4 would go away because there were kind of splitting the baby about only televising action items during work sessions. So 3 and 4 would go away. 5 and 6, which are now 3 and 4, would stay about ceasing the streaming and televising of meetings when the council's enclosed and ending it for the night, unless there's some regular open session item for some reason after the close. But then adding a 5th point to add some manner of trailer that gets posted the next day on, in some manner at the tail end of the recording of the council meeting, advising in text as to any action, as to whether there was action at the close of the, after reconvening and open, and if so, what that action was.
It could simply be no action taken.
Right, yeah, could be no action taken, or if there was action, a plain English description, the same words the clerk could be putting in the minutes as to what the council did. And probably, what the vote was on it, if it was a roll call vote.
Yep.
So, okay.
That's how I understood it.
We can go back and modify this resolution for council signature if you adopt it tonight.
Okay. Any other discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote. Jamie?
Jason Ring,
Aye.
Bonnie Shimulinas,
No.
Scott Stuckmesser,
Aye.
Adam Wesky,
Aye.
Jeff Pelkey,
Aye.
Tracy Coach,
Aye.
Bill Leclerc,
Aye.
Darla Leclerc,
Aye.
Tim Petrie.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, good discussion. Thank you, guys. Moving on to J, amendment to sex offender ordinance pertaining to residency restrictions. The recommended action is a motion to waive reading and adopt the ordinance as recommended by the police chief. 35, I think, in our packet, page 35. Chief, are you coming to address us on that? It looks like he is.
So we talked about this in not closed session, but work session last week. And this was actually brought up at one of the last regular council meetings. The questions were about the time period when someone establishes residency in the city. So we kind of delved into this and looked at it and looked at the areas that we would need to change to clean it up and make it clear so that it's clear for anybody that's reading it. There's no ambiguity in there. I did provide a memo to each of you, and then along with that memo is a copy of the ordinance with the areas that are suggested for change. There's strikeout, which would be the items that would be removed. There's yellow with underlining, which would be the areas that would be revised or added. And so I'll just real quickly go through the memo. I think it's probably the easiest. So the first part was permanent residence, and that's changing the definition of permanent residence to make it clearer of what actually a permanent residence is. We gathered some of this language from other state statutes, namely 6.10 and 71.01. Some of that has to do with election law, and then the other one has to do with a definition of domicile. So as it indicates here, that specifically states the place where the person habitation is fixed without any present intent to move, and to which, when absent, the person intends to return. A permanent residence does not include lodging or other locations where the intended purpose is to temporarily stay. No person gains a residence in the city regardless of length of stay while there for temporary purposes only. So regardless of what state statutes might say in other areas, whether they're here, I know the question came up in one of the other meetings about, well, if they're at a hotel for so many days, that's considered residency. We are defining as a city what residency is under this ordinance, and that's what stands, not what state statute has. So that makes it clear for the city of Two Rivers purposes, for the sex offender ordinance, what residency is. Moving on to 992G1, temporary residence. Here we're suggesting to change. So again, there is no confusion. By having permanent residence and temporary residence, we're using that word residence in there, and that automatically creates maybe some confusion. So just getting rid of the term residence and changing that to temporarily reside. And so that would be changed to the follows: a condition where the person sleeps, abides, lodges, or resides for a period of not more than, that's the operative terms there, not more than 14 days in the aggregate during any calendar year, and which may include more than one location and may be mobile or transitory. So if you remember in the original language in the ordinance, it does refer to this 14 days. There was some discussion about that, well, should we make that 10 days? Should we make it 30 days? We just need to set a standard. This has been a standard that we created back in 2015 when the ordinance was put in place. The intention behind that, although not probably properly worded, or at least it got convoluted over time, was that it mentioned the 14 days, but it didn't say, well, what happens after 14 days? And I think that's where the problem lied. So here we're saying it's up to 14 days, making it very clear that that is considered temporarily residing in the city is up to 14 days. Anything after that is not permissible, and that's where we get to the next bullet point, which is 993(a). So domicile restrictions, this is where it really brings those two together and brackets it, okay? So no offender shall be permitted to reside in the city, and no supervised release of such offender shall be established in the city for more than 14 days in the aggregate during any calendar year, unless the offender was domiciled as a permanent residence in the city at the time of the offense resulting in such conviction, or the person previously resided in the city for a continuous period of at least 5 years, and that such residency has not lapsed for 10 years. So what that's basically saying is that you can reside temporarily up to 14 days. So if you're a sex offender and you're visiting Two Rivers, maybe you have family here, it is possible to be in the city for up to 14 days in the aggregate in any calendar year. If we were to lessen that or eliminate that particular provision, I think Jack will concur with this, is that I think we would be infringing on someone's constitutional rights, that saying you can't come to Two Rivers at all, or you couldn't stay overnight here at all. However, we can set a standard, and that's the standard we're creating here, is up to 14 days. After 14 days, if you're a registered sex offender and the conditions of this ordinance, you would not be allowed to remain in the city if it was more than 14 days in the aggregate. That's what the original ordinance in 2015's intention was, and that's what we're trying to make clear here. So in essence, we're really not creating a new standard. We're not changing anything from the intended purpose. We're just making it clear so that everybody can understand, including the sex offenders who have questions about these things when they want to decide whether they can or can't reside in the city, that it is clear. And then we get on to 993B, exemptions. It's just simply adding the exemption of temporarily reside. So it's grabbing that definition and saying that's one of the exceptions, again, up to that 14 days. And then under the domicile restrictions under 993C, here it's unlawful for a property owner to let, rent, or lease any place, structure, or part thereof, trailer, or other conveyance to any person other than to allow such person to temporarily reside in the city as defined in this section. So, and it goes on, but that last part of the sentence, to any person other than to allow such person to temporarily reside in the city as defined in this section. So again, making it clear for property owners of what their obligation is. This was an element in the ordinance already. So again, we're really not changing anything. It's just making it clear of what that separation is between temporarily residing and permanent, residence. So that's, I guess, in a nutshell, if you want to call that a nutshell. If there are any questions at all, feel free to ask. And then again, as I said, you can see how that actually plays out in the actual language of the ordinance in the copies that were provided, where each of those areas were changed, so you can see it kind of how it plays out.
Okay, looking for a motion on this, and then we can open it up to Chief for questions.
Oh, I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Bonnie. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Tim, thank you very much. Now, council discussion. Go ahead, Bonnie.
Like to ask you a question. Our landlord's obligated to find this information out?
Yes, and actually the ordinance states that there is a mechanism to do that. There is an online source that's readily available to all citizens, the Wisconsin State Sex Offender Registry. And although it's not, may be some offenders, particularly like juvenile offenders, that wouldn't be on there. It is the best and only resource for the public. And so that is actually stated in ordinance. It has been in there before, so we're not adding it tonight or anything. And it's a reasonable, and I'll repeat that, a reasonable standard that is out there. We wouldn't want to create some nebulous standard that property owners would be hard pressed to meet and then hold them accountable for it. So.
Anybody else? I do have one question. I'm not trying to pick this apart by any means, but when you say they're not to visit more than 14 days, what happens theoretically if they ended up in the hospital? I'm just asking, is there like an exemption, or are we holding that to that same standard? Just curious.
And I think that there was a question very similar to that came up during the work session. And my response to that then, and I think it's the same now, is that it's very difficult to legislate every single circumstance that's going to occur. And there is a reasonableness standard that applies to everything. And that would certainly be one of those standards that we would apply, in those cases.
Just dawned on me, what if the person was here for a while and then all of a sudden had a heart attack or what have you?
And this is a municipal ordinance, so what we're talking about here is a municipal citation. So, and not that it would happen, but I'm just saying it's a municipal citation. It's not that someone's getting arrested and taken to jail immediately. So there's a remedy as well.
Okay, thank you. All right, see no further council discussion. This is a roll call vote. Jamie?
Bonnie Shimulinas,
Aye.
Scott Steckmesser,
Aye.
Adam Wahusky,
Aye.
Jeff Delkey,
Aye.
Tracy Coach,
Aye.
Bill Leclerc,
Aye.
Darla Leclerc,
Aye.
Tim Petrie, Jason Ring.
Aye.
Motion carries.
2K, official newspaper declaration and bid. The recommended action is a motion to accept bid as submitted and declare the Herald Times Reporter as the official newspaper of the city of Two Rivers. You can go to page 43 in your packet to find out more. Otherwise, Greg.
This is to meet a statutory requirement. It is still state law that certain items, including public hearing notices, summaries of ordinances adopted or amended by action of the council, and council minutes. There may be some others, but hearings, minutes, and adopted ordinance, legal notices appear in a print publication that has paid circulation. I think the one with the largest paid circulation within the community. So I've actually, a few years ago, we had a council vote this one down. But the fact is, for our ordinances to be legal after they're adopted, to meet statutory requirements on publishing minutes, providing other legal notices like hearing notices, the internet isn't good enough. Other forms of social media aren't good enough. By the way, there's a lobby. The newspapers also have a lobby group in Madison. So there's probably a little bit of that involved here too. There is still a requirement, and it has to be one with paid circulation. Now, the Chronicle, I understand, is stopping or has stopped publication. But even when that was going free, allegedly, to every house or into snow blowers and into bushes around town, that didn't qualify. It has to be paid circulation. So these are the rates that would apply for classified ads for our city notices for the coming year in a newspaper that apparently has about 4,092 circulation based on this.
Allegedly.
Yeah. which is, when you think about it, is a pretty small percentage of the households in Manitowoc County. So just wanted to the caveat there, not staff's idea. This is to meet a statutory requirement.
All right, looking
No
for
local control on this one.
Looking for a motion on this.
I'll make it.
Thank you, Bonnie. Do I have a second? Thank you, Bill. Any discussion among council?
I'm just
Yes, go
curious,
ahead,
do
Jason.
we know the circulation of the Valders Journal locally? I mean, who we pair this up against? Because I have a strong support of open and transparent government. I have the opposite feelings of our local newspaper, the HTR.
Not sure how many folks in Two Rivers subscribe to the Valdez Journal, but it might be neck and neck at this point.
Tracy?
Mine's just a comment. I mean, they're so out of touch. They sent this to Kim Graves, city clerk.
Yeah. I know.
Isn't that pathetic?
We've also had to reschedule public hearings because they miss our dates on paid ads.
How many times have they made last year?
A fair number. Yeah. This is a case where the law has not really caught up with
Yeah.
technology or reality.
Bonnie?
You know, do you pay to be on WOMT? Because they do a good job of covering not only local news, but they always announce what the city council is gonna discuss in Manitowoc and Two Rivers.
No, that's,
And they have something online too, in case you miss the news. This is a very stupid thing because I don't understand why the legislators aren't moving on it. It doesn't make sense.
I know that the league has lobbied for some changes in the law, and over the years, they've chipped away at it, League of Municipalities. You know, we now can publish summaries of ordinances instead of ordinances in their entirety. Maybe there's some others, but no, you're right, and that might be, we're due to invite Senator Jacques and Representative Sortwell in, and we could certainly add that to the list because we don't have any discretion on this because it's state law. And it would not, I'm pretty confident it wouldn't fall under any of the local control aspects that the city attorney spoke to earlier.
Carla?
Just ballpark, how much do we pay them every year?
We'd have to do a
I'm just
vendor
really
search. We can
curious.
answer that question real quickly, just not right here.
Because I know
right
when we
now.
had to do our put the legals in, it's expensive. I mean, it all adds up. You know, and for everything else, I'd just be curious to know how much we spend on the HTR when it's.
We can provide you that information.
Okay.
The answer will still be, it's the law as the
No,
law
I
now
understand
stands.
that, but
Yeah.
they better start doing a better job.
I would say Jason probably brings up a good point, though. I don't see why we couldn't go with the Valdez Journal. It is a paid subscription. That could be a possibility. I don't know what they charge, but
Jack, have you pulled the statute up by any chance? Because I was assuming it was paid circulation within the city in question.
It does refer to within the city.
they have circulation. Is there a percentage?
There's the Denmark News too, just up the road. Yeah.
We're getting an answer on that. Jack is working hard. I can't get a name straight tonight.
We're new and we're in different seats for those of us
Yeah,
that work here,
it's,
so.
but Jack's in the
it's
same one. I
understandable.
shouldn't
Name tags face out.
have. That's true too.
There is an exception in here somewhere regarding paper published within the county in which the city is located. I'm trying to.
Get a call from the Valdez Journal every now and then. They'll cover some local issues.
Should have some elevator music for times like this.
Yeah.
Keep people calm.
We'll put that resolution on your next agenda, Mr. Brown.
Low.
Yeah, they're chomping at the bits to get this answer. No pressure, Jack. Take your time.
Property. Crimes.
I mean, we kind of do have to wait for an answer because if we're going to vote on this, we may want to change that vote or may want to push it off and see what the Valdez Journal has to offer.
Well, it gets interesting because it says such newspapers must be published in the city. But in fourth class, designated.
Could theoretically do that because we don't have, the HTR is located in Manitowoc. Valdez Journal circulates
But,
within the
yeah, what
county.
does publish mean anymore,
what
you
does
know?
publish
It's,
Refer to, that is described. Published at the place from which its mailing permit is issued.
oh, Lord.
Except that if the place where a newspaper has its concentration of circulation primary, and it's published at the place it designates as its place of.
So we could theoretically change this if we'd like. We can, obviously, if we would choose the Valdez Journal, I don't think we'd be doing due diligence if we didn't get prices from them.
You wanna-
So I would,
I'd welcome a motion to table. If
we
you
can
wanted to have
certainly
this
table
retreat.
that, so we'd have to retract. Do we have a motion? I think we do, because we're discussing this. Who had the motion? Bill?
Change the motion to table.
Okay,
Bonnie,
and Bonnie?
Bonnie made the
Yeah, to
motion.
table it. yeah.
Okay, so we have the mover and the shaker motion to table it, to take a chance and look at what Valdez Journal has. And any further discussion? See none, roll call vote.
No, I don't think you need it for
Nope.
the table.
Okay, perfect. Done.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Good deal. All right, on to L, which is city manager's designation of acting city manager. I'll let Greg take it from
This
there.
is information only. It's simply an annual thing that past council policy directive provided would be at the first regular meeting, following the organizational committee meeting. And that is, well, what do we do when the city manager isn't in town? So when I would again, this year, it's been this for several years, report to the council that Police Chief Brian Kohlmeyer is designated to be acting city manager in my absence. And that generally is if I'm out of town for overnight or longer. And typically, I haven't traveled much lately in the last 2 years, but typically I'll advise council of that planned absence with an email to each of you. So
Okay.
that would be continuing status quo. And thank you, Chief, for serving in that capacity. Yeah. Next up, yeah, that's all I had for that.
All right, going on to M, consideration of 2 facade improvement program grant applications submitted to the city and recommended for the approval by the Main Street Design Committee. The recommended action is a motion to approve a facade improvement grant to the High Lift LLC in the amount of $10,000 and to Renee's Specialties LLC in the amount of $1,850. You can find this on page 44 in our packets. And then Greg or Elizabeth? Greg?
Elizabeth can come up and address these. These 2 applications are within the guidelines established by the council earlier this year from budgeted funds. In this case, in Fund 290, the Economic Development Fund. If these projects lie in proximity to a couple of our different TIF districts, we can draw from those because these facade grants are an eligible activity. In this particular case, though, each of these would be from Development Fund where there are budgeted monies, I think 20,000 total for such activity. But as to the details of the 2 applications, over to our Community Development Director.
The memo in your packet, as Councilmember Wahusky alluded to, it is page 44, so it sort of summarizes what we're talking about here tonight. Council approved the development of a facade improvement program this year. So this is our first round of implementing this program. The goal of the facade improvement program, the city's program, is much like Main Street's, but it is separate, is to encourage businesses to improve and invest in the exterior of their buildings. So this is a financial incentive to match their investment with city dollars, and they would invest 50% with their own dollars. So This is a reimbursement-based program, and this is our first round. So we received 2 applications. The deadline for this was April 15th. And the 2 applications, as mentioned, were the High Lift LLC and Renee's Chocolates. And the expenses that they listed were included in your packet. So what we included were the 2 cover sheets of the application and some pictures to share with you as to what they were looking at. So we followed Main Street's example. We used the design committee to have them look over the applications, just modeling after the existing program that is in place. And they looked over the applications. So in your packets, looking first at the High Lift LLC application, they submitted a total cost expenditures anticipated to be $29,328. And then I just clipped a few pictures of their location, which is at 1207 Madison Street. They're at the corner of that intersection at 12th and Madison. And so we have some existing building photos, and actually they had done a little bit of painting, so it was a little bit of things that had moved forward. So on page 46 in your packet, we have 2 pictures. And then on the next page, on 47, are some renderings that were submitted showing the garage doors that they anticipate putting in there. So a lot of new glass doors, garage doors, and exterior doors are anticipated to open up. So having sort of an outside in look and improvements. And then also included are some new signage. So she has some renderings for those as well. So that was page 48 in your packet, just showing you examples of what they anticipate having created for new signage opportunities for the design of the building. So again, the anticipated expenses are $29,328. And so they would maximize their expenditures of this program. So half and half would be a $10,000 facade grant award. And then the second application is from Renee's Chocolates, which the materials that they submitted start on page 49 of your packet. And the total cost of their application is $3,700. So it is a smaller request at this point in time, because what they're looking at primarily is a new painting and staining of the front. And so they have anticipated materials and combined labor costs reaching that amount of $3,700. And the page 50 shows the existing building. And then the request is looking at painting and staining, like I mentioned, the exterior. They have 2 colors selected, a light and dark blue, and they will be doing some striping work on the exterior. And they're going to update the door and some other things to improve that front of the building. So the committee reviewed that and recommended unanimously, the design committee recommended for the council's consideration to approve these applications for your consideration.
Okay, thank you very much. Looking for a motion on this. Thank you, Jason. Do I have a second? Thank you, Scott. Any discussion on council? Seeing none, roll call vote. Jamie?
Scott Steckmesser.
Aye.
Adam Huskey.
Aye.
Jeff Delkey.
Aye.
Tracy Coach.
Aye.
Bill Leclerc.
Aye.
Darla Leclerc.
Aye.
Tim Petrie.
Aye.
Jason Ring.
Aye.
Bonnie Shimulunis.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you very much. On to 12 for information only. Greg?
Just a reminder, the council next regular meeting is in 2 weeks from tonight on May 16. We've still got to circulate some dates to the new members on possible orientation session. I'm not sure with meetings if we're going to get it in this week, or we'll have to maybe look at a date next week. And council work session, we are looking at, again, per the discussion of the work session, the week of the 23rd, and we're still waiting to get a fix on either the 23rd or some later night that week, because that work session is going to focus on economic development tools, and we want to bring somebody from Baird in to talk about TIF. So it's that week. It's the week before Memorial Day. Again, we may have to circulate a different date once we get a confirmation.
So we're waiting on Baird for that one?
Waiting on- Yeah, well, I got a request out very late, but now we're waiting on it. By the way, I didn't mention it earlier, but speaking of Beard, we did close today on the previously approved financing for this year's capital projects, 2.35 million as approved by council. And I assume that means some funds were wired in today, as Dave confirms. We do have a closed session tonight, one item as listed, and there is a possibility of council action on reconvening an open session.
Okay, very much. On to 13, closed session. The city council reserves the right to enter into closed session per Wisconsin statutes 19.851G, conferring with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is likely or is likely to become involved in. Tonight to discuss matters pertaining to legal judgment obtained by the city related to Paragon property foreclosure. Looking for a motion to go into closed session.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Jeff. And a second? Thank you, Bill. Any discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote. Jamie?
Adam Huskey,
Aye.
Jeff Delkey.
Aye.
Tracy Coach.
Aye.
Okay, Bill Leclerc,
Aye.
Darla Leclerc,
Aye.
Tim Petrie, Jason Ring,
Aye.
Bonnie Chimulunis,
Aye.
Scott Steckmesser.
Aye.
Motion carries.
We will take a 5-minute health break and then we will
Listening on
come
the
back.
wrong ear.